Call this meeting to order, and we'll start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll start then with the approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting February 12th. Everyone's had a chance to read them. Are there any corrections that need to be made?
G needs to be changed. Approval of administrator evaluation. Wasn't a contract.
Good catch.
Yep. What did you say?
Evaluation.
Not contract?
Good catch. Anything else? All right, then I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion we accept.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of the regular board meeting February 12th with the change of G from contract to evaluation. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Then we'll move on to the approval of the general fund vouchers, 75,474 through 755.13, and wire transfers 171,80367 through 171,80393. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve?
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the general fund vouchers as read. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, motion passes. And we'll move on to our public comment section. And then we'll move on to our new business. Item A, approval of the spring coaching roster. And do we want to table that for contemplated yet?
Yep.
All right. Then we'll move on to item B, review of the achievement gap reduction, AGR.
I'm not used to going this early. Should be in your board book there, back behind the vouchers, coaching stuff. It's a sheet that looks like this. Everybody find it okay?
Yeah, I guess. All right.
Got her? Okay.
Yeah.
So if you guys remember achievement gap reduction, this is what used to be SAGE, which is the class size reduction program that's been around since I think the late 90s. So it changed to AGR, which means achievement gap reduction. Basically, we have adopted the same strategy, which is class size reduction. So we're still using it for that K1 and 2 and 3, 18 to 1 student to staff ratio. This is what that's the strategy that we've chosen to keep implementing. And then we had to do, we updated our contract, so in 15-16 and then 16-17 was the first year, but last year, and it's a 5-year contract, so you write the goals, and basically it's a 5-year thing. And so at the end of each semester, we're supposed to give you an update on how we're doing as on tracking our goals. So the first 2 pages are just it shows what the goals are and how they're assessed, which assessments we use. Mainly we're using the STAR assessment at the elementary school. So then the very last page is the page that shows the data. So what this is showing is what percentage of kids were at or above benchmark. So the fall data is from September. All the kids in the school took a STAR assessment in September, and then they took another one in January, and then in February, early February, we had our data meetings where we meet with teacher teams that come in 1 grade level at a time throughout over the course of a day and a half, and meet, and we look at things much deeper and look at individual performance and things like that. But anyway, then we summarize the percentage of kids who are at benchmark or higher. So it's pretty self-explanatory, I guess, but it just lists, shaded ones are reading, the white ones are math. The goal is to have 80% of kids at or above benchmark by the end of the school year. So for a couple of grade levels or a couple of we've actually achieved that already, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything because the way that STAR tests work is the benchmark keeps raising. So benchmark in September and benchmark in May look different. You know, their kids are expected to have growth. So,
Is this just through third grade?
nope, this is K through 3.
Wow.
Yeah, so if you look on the left-hand column, it's the grade level, and then whether it's reading or math, and then fall, and then the winter.
But what about fourth, fifth, sixth graders?
And just to clarify, Dave, this is just in regards to AGR.
This
So the
is just-
AGR program is specific to K through
Okay.
3.
Yeah.
But we do that same type of assessments with, grades
Yep.
4 through
Yeah.
6.
This is just what we're required to, actually, we don't turn this into the state, we just are required to share it with you and
Have the conversation.
have a conversation. Kind of like the day-to-days with the teachers, really, I mean, the conversations that you have are more important. Well, I shouldn't say they're more important, I mean, the numbers are important, but the conversations that you have around those numbers are really what's the value of those meetings, you know? So,
When do we get the 4 through 6?
we can do that, like when we do the end of the year, I could bring the whole thing in, yeah.
Just curious.
Great.
I don't know how long, it can help me, Chris, because my memory's filled up, but a number of years ago, we had to kind of click all of our students up to a higher standard. Didn't we here at Clear Lake? That was how many years ago?
That's referring to the state
Forward.
tests. So the WKCE test is the one from the 90s up till about 4 years ago. So the last couple of years of that, we had to bump up what was considered to be acceptable scores on that. And then we had the Badger test for 1 year, and then we had the Forward test now for 2 years. And so, yeah, those have all had the higher, well, the Badger test had a little bit lower benchmark, that 1 year test. It's kind of political football, and so they did it for 1 year, and then there was a lot of issues with it and complaints about it, and then they switched to this Forward exam. So,
But we're actually teaching the kids, isn't there a group of kids in this batch that's got to catch up? You know what I mean?
yeah, this data is different than, I mean, this is a whole different assessment.
That's what we have. That's the
So-
state assessment that we have to do.
That-
And this is
Yeah.
what we, as a district, choose to use the STAR.
The grant.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about assessments. I'm just talking about when we got a new reading program. Was it the STAR reading program or something?
No, are you talking about like when Common Core and the new standards came in, and then they also increased the rigor or not the rigor of, but they increased
What we expect a
The-
first grader to do.
where the cut scores are for the WKCE test got raised up based on the standards of the NAEP test, which is a nationwide test. Didn't change the test at all, didn't change anything else, but they just raised the cut score. So like you were a kid who was a 3, last year you could score the same, and now you're a 2, and nothing changed except that they just raised the bar.
Oh.
And then, yeah, with that is the thought of higher standards. You know, the new reading and writing and math standards that were handed down are higher rigor, I would say. I think most teachers would agree that they're higher rigor, and some of the skills that, we would have learned in first or second grade are being taught in kindergarten in some cases, or if that's what you're...
That's actually what I was
Does that
referring to,
help?
yeah.
Yeah. I think that was 4 or 5 years ago, because one of my
Was it
kids
that
was
long
in the
ago?
jump. Well, I remember there was, Mrs.
Yeah.
Score talked about how the program really changed, and that would have been 5 years ago.
Yeah, well, and then we're also talking about the reading series that we had. We got a new reading series in 2012-13, and then we got another new one this year as our first year of Reach for Reading, then one you guys approved for us to purchase last summer, which is going very well. It's been very...
And now are these scores based off that new National Geographic reading?
Well, these scores are from a test called STAR.
But they don't use
So-
that curriculum, yeah.
No, well, they're using this curriculum to teach reading.
Right.
But then the assessment is an independent assessment. So it's STAR is a nationwide normed test. So there's hundreds of thousands of kids and millions of kids who have taken it. And so it compares how you do against a broad. That's what's the power of STAR is. That's pretty cool about it. Is when a student takes it and you say, hey, you're at the 79th percentile. That means 79th percentile, better than 78% of all the kids all over the
Right.
world who have taken this test. So there's a lot of data behind it,
Right.
which is good.
And I asked that just because reading looks a little bit low here, and they'll really have to move,
Some of the grades,
yeah, for second and third.
yeah, yep.
So this AGR program, it just applies for K through third.
Yep, this is what gives us, I don't know, what do we get, a couple $100,000
Yeah.
a year probably to fund, or 100 and some thousand a year. Used to be known as SAGE, but this is,
You pretty much just get funding. They give you funding so that way you can keep your
Federal.
numbers low and
Federal.
have the ratio, smaller ratio to teacher to student.
it's a state program, Wisconsin program. So when you talk about assessments, you want to have classroom data. How are they doing in the classroom on assignments and assessments created by the teacher, and then you want to have a 1 year, a yearly, like that state assessment it's a 1 day, one shot. But that's a valuable piece of data to see, okay, how is your school doing at teaching the standards that are in Wisconsin? And then you have a third piece of data like a STAR test, which is a normed, I can't, right now I'm not thinking of the proper jargon of what type of assessment or what you would call that. But to have that kind of tripod of 3 different types of assessment, how is our school doing, our students doing to the state standards? How are they doing versus other, say, 4th graders across the U.S.? And then also, how are they doing in Mrs. Schieffer's room? You know what I mean? So you want to look at all the parts together. And looking at any one in isolation can be dangerous because, you want to have a balanced view of the assessment. So basically, it's just the point of the AGR program. We need to have goals and we need to share them with the board and just have that discussion is really the point of it. There's not, financial penalty from the DPI if we don't meet our goal. There's not, anything like that. It's just we need to set the goal. We got it approved by the DPI, 2 years ago. We sent it in to them, and then we just need to make sure that we review it with you at the end of the first semester and the second. So, in June we'll bring it back again. Good questions. Any other ones?
So is the goal to hit 80% all the way through the school year then, Chris?
The goal is to hit 80% by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And ideally, you'd love to have every grade level hit it. That doesn't always happen. It may not happen this year. But
And this funding's for 5 years then?
the contract's for 5 years, yeah. The funding comes every year in the state budget, or biennium in the state budget, but you have to do a 5-year contract to be
So
part of the program.
You'll have to apply for it again then at the end of this?
Yeah, and it's more of a application, I guess is the right word. You got to send in your goals, and they changed the format a couple years ago. That's why we had to redo the whole thing. It used to look different.
So is there a lot of schools that are in this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's based on it's for schools who have higher rates of free and reduced lunch, higher rates of poverty.
Okay.
So like if you don't have a certain level of free and reduced lunch, I don't know if you can even qualify for AGR. It's been around a long time, and I wasn't around with that as an administrator way back then. Like I said, it was late 90s. And then you also get funded per pupil based on the number of pupils in each grade level that are free and reduced. So this is why we're encouraging people to fill out that form. Even if they don't qualify, it doesn't hurt to see. Anything else? Any other questions?
No, thank you, Chris. All right, then we will proceed with our new business item C, the review of the board policy development, the Neola update.
Okay, I just wanted to update you guys kind of where we're at with Neola. I've met 3 times with an individual from Neola, a retired Boyceville superintendent. We're just about finished going through the first section of policies. So then from there, I'm going to be meeting with the admin team to go through them before they come to the board. And then we'll go through kind of our first reading with you guys with the first round of policies. So he gave us kind of the option of kind of doing everything at once, getting all of them approved when we're done. But I'm just not knowing how long this process will take. I opted for the second option of we'll kind of go series by series and work through it. So the first series is really kind of your guys' the board series. So we'll go through those and kind of take as much time as you guys want when we go through them. A lot of them are pretty short and pretty straightforward. Once we get to like the student ones, I think that section will take us quite a long time. But for this, it's been a good process. It's been good asking them questions and going through that. So just wanted to let you know that we're moving forward with it, and the next step, like I said, is going to be meeting with the admin team to just go one last run, kind of get eyes on it, and then you guys will get eyes on them as well. So I'll be emailing them out to you, so you guys can review them at your own kind
How
of
soon are
pace.
you thinking of this will happen?
Well, I wanted you guys to have enough time. So next week, the admin team's going to be looking at them. So I figured maybe 2 meetings out, so that way you're not reading them for the first time, at the board meeting. You guys can, I can bring hard copies to at the next board meeting, so you guys can just have them and take those with you, and I'll email them. What's that? Oh, so that way when we do our first reading, we're not, literally reading every single policy word for word through, because it would be a long evening, I think. So if that's what you guys think is kind of the best, I think it's all of our first run at it, so I figured that'd probably be the smartest route.
I think far better than a giant stack to go through.
Yeah.
Series at a time.
Yeah, well, and to be honest, it's going to be a fairly decent sized stack
Yeah.
just with the series, so I
And
think
then-
you're right.
We can start to approve them and they can be official.
Yep, so what he said would probably be the best, he said what a lot of districts do, he said the 2 options that most districts do is either they go through all of them, complete all of the series, and then take them to the board, and then the board, you guys would go through them and do a first reading and then a second reading and then be approved. He said, or you could do series by series. He said very rarely do districts do policy by policy. I think we'd be probably a 10-year process. So he said that's what most districts do is give out the policies for the board members to review on their own, and if there's questions, we could kind of go through policies that you guys have questions on, or if you want to be looked at further, or if there's something that say, hey, I think this one maybe we should get more people to the table to talk about. But I don't see that happening for the first series because they're the board policy, board governance policies.
And then do they, in their process, will they say, like, this is a state or a federal kind of thing, you don't get any choice, I mean, this
Yep.
is just the way it is, and then these are
So-
ones that you as a local district have some say on?
Yep, and he's been going through that with me,
Okay.
and I can share that stuff
Yeah.
with you guys too. And even specific policy, he'll ask me, is this kind of pertinent to your district or not? And he'll say, okay, this one's a federally mandated policy; it has to be in there. So this one is what most districts do, but it's not a federally
Sure.
mandate. And then he gives you,
So some are just quick and dirty, there's not really a choice,
Yeah.
you just gotta do it.
Yeah.
Others you can have some debate on.
yeah. Trying to think of one off the top of my head that's just like took us kind of like 2 seconds to do. The definition of a clerk. Kind of, there's not a whole lot of
Right.
different definitions out there, so
Okay.
kind of go through those. And then there's some where I put, board discussion. I just kind of put a little thing on that said board discussion that, I wasn't going to make the decision. I wanted everyone, all you guys, to talk about it, and then we can have a discussion about it. And then he said districts can choose to, if you had a unique policy, local kind of policy. He said, by all means that there are policies, so we could keep them, but then they don't back them as far as legally with their attorneys. So
They're not willing to do a check on some local policies with their legal team?
like if we were challenged on something, we would have no legal back. They'd take a look at it, but they're pretty hesitant to give us any legal advice on our own local policies. But I don't think we're gonna run into too many of those. At least, a lot of them are pretty straightforward. Like open enrollment, or, graduation. I mean, obviously there's some local decisions within those policies, and then they would give us the verbiage on some of that stuff and give us the backing. And then he said once we, like this first series, we would adopt these series, and then the old policies would be no longer, and the current policies would be then our board governance policies. And then I forget if it's students or what's the second series of policies, but then we'll start going through those.
Sounds good. All right, well, then we'll move on to our superintendent notes.
Okay. A lot of stuff going on in the district. It's postseason sports, winter sports. So we had the wrestling team qualified. 4 guys at the state tournament, and really a phenomenal season. My hats off to the whole team. I thought they did a great job. And like I said at the Sunday gathering, we had 4 boys qualify. But very rarely does someone qualify on their own. There's a lot of people that are involved to get them to that point, whether it's practice partners or coaches or parents. So a huge congratulations. We had Ryan Anderson came home with a first. He's a state champ, so he's a 2-time state champ. Noah Wazorek took a second, so that was his second time taking second. Nick Zemth took a 5th, got on the podium this year, wrestled extremely well, and Gabe Colbeth qualified down there and wrestled well. So all 4 of them did a fantastic job. It was fun to watch those 4, but also fun to watch the entire team this year at dual meets and in tournaments. So congratulations to them. We had the girls basketball go 2 games in, I guess 3 games in. They had a bye. And then ended up losing to Colfax. Won on Friday and then lost on Saturday. So they also had a great season. It's a relatively young team, but did a really nice job representing Clear Lake throughout the year. And then the boys basketball team now starts off their postseason. They play on
Should have a bye on Tuesday.
Yep.
Game on Friday.
They drew a number 1 seed, so they have a bye on Tuesday. And then the winner of Colfax and Glenwood, did you say?
Yeah.
On Friday the 2nd. So we have high school parent-teacher conferences on Thursday. Junior, senior high parent-teacher conferences this Thursday. Like I said, the boys basketball game on Friday. We have the elementary talent show at 1:15 on Friday the 2nd. And then I can't even believe I'm saying this, but track practice begins on the 5th, Monday, right after a big snowstorm. So, and then we had the 2-hour delay. We were down at the state wrestling tournament down in Madison, so we've been hit hard with snow. But I appreciate I received a couple positive emails. It's never an easy decision to be made because I know it's such a huge burden on families, especially the 2-hour delays. I know that's not easy for a lot of families. So definitely appreciate the positive emails that I received from parents, just expressing their thankfulness for calling the delay due to the road conditions. So never easy, but the amount of snow that we got, we had to do it. So that's it.
Good. Then we'll move on to our future agenda items. Anybody have anything they want to put on the agenda for the next meeting?
Are we gonna pick a date in April for
Yeah.
WASB guy?
Yeah. Guy Levitt?
No,
Nope,
look at from Chautauqua.
Yep.
Al Brown?
Al Brown, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Was the 16th okay with everybody?
Sure.
Okay.
Did that work for him?
Yep.
Time?
It was, I'll have to ask him. I think it was right around like 5-ish.
Okay. Does that work for you, Pete, to be back by 5?
Yep, I'll make that.
Do we need to communicate with Al what we're gonna visit about?
Yeah, I gave him the kind of all of the ideas that you guys had shared with me.
Which I can't even remember what any of them were, but I just thought
We had some data stuff. I mean, it was kind of a
Was in his projection from, what was it, last week? Or
Yep.
2 weeks ago that we got all that
yeah.
information?
Because when I met with him, I said, you know, we talked about the data stuff. We talked about board governance, and we talked about possibly like a strategic plan type deal. So I can. You guys want me to communicate something specific to him?
Well, I just know that we've talked about many things, but I'm just wondering if we still feel that we want to talk about all those things, or can we narrow it down a little bit, spend a little bit more time on fewer items, I guess. Did we receive something from him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, there it is.
I've just been in the email.
No, it's in the local one.
I thought he said,
February 12th, it looks like.
yeah, after the insurance.
Yeah.
So the self-assessment, I'm gonna get that, he talks about that, we're gonna get that before that meeting, so we can have results by then to talk about.
Page are you on of that?
4. Second sentence overview.
You didn't talk to me about that, but I'm guessing that's the same as the very first board retreat that we did. You guys remember? I'll skip.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Skip wasn't here, but where we went to the computer lab and
Right.
did that. I'm guessing that's what that's talking about.
Right.
Proposal contains 2 board development
So yeah, we must
workshops
have something he wants us to fill out.
designed to
when we meet.
clarify the school board role in providing leadership of the district's strategic plan, connecting a system of accountability with stated goals or outcomes, and to begin the process of aligning board work with administrative leadership. That sounds like it's right up our alley. You guys good with that?
Well, why don't you just provide us a little more detail before it comes up, Josh? Just
Sure.
once you talk to him.
I can give him a call this
Email us.
week.
Yeah, if there's anything we can do ahead of time to
Looks
get
like
more
that
out of
meeting
it.
would be-
Okay.
Right before we meet.
Yep.
Cool, okay. Anything else on future agenda items, guys? Okay, then we'll move on into contemplated closed session. In accordance to WSS 19.85, paragraph 1F concerning financial, medical, social, or personal histories or disciplinary data of specific persons, preliminary consideration of specific histories or disciplinary data of specific persons, preliminary, oh, I read that sentence already. Problems, or the investigation of charges against specific persons, if discussed in public, would likely to have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any persons referred to in such histories or data or involved in such problems or investigations. I'll pull the board. Nettie? Skip?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Pete?
Yes.
David? We are in closed session. That's right, I just put pause. All right, we're back in open session. I will entertain a motion to approve the spring coaching roster.
I'll move to approve.
Second?
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the spring coaching roster. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. We are adjourned.